grow.
We want more. UMM applied laboratories are study places of campus to be accessed. Here are on the long list. UMM General Hospital,
AMM Hospital Sumbawa,
Race Hotel, Kapal Garden Hotel, Rooftop Resto and Cafe, Sengkalin Recreational Park, Rinjani Auto, UMM Energy Gas Station, UMM Dome, Bumi Rinjani Syariah Bank, Micro Hydro Power Plant.
So, what are you waiting for? Let's be the part of this white campus. Dream, achievement, and inspiration are one of perfect combination.
A good morning to our online participant from Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Philippines, and Indonesia. In a few minutes, we will start our opening ceremony for international short course. Please turn on your camera during the event and pay attention and enjoy. Thank you.
The Great Malang area, which offers cool and comfortable weather, is a perfect location for learning, allowing students to keep growing and developing. Everyone will surely love this city. It is the dream place for all students from various cultures and countries. The University of Muhammadiyah Malang, UMM, is blessed with all sorts of natural splendours. This university is full of achievements. No wonder awards and acknowledgements keep coming from various institutions, both national and international ones. Among others are the highest A-list institutional accreditation from the Indonesian National University Accreditation Body, BANPT, and the award for the leading university from the Department of Higher Education Regional 7th of East Java, which was achieved 11 times consecutively. In the global level, UMM achievement is also as great. UMM has twice been awarded the Asian Energy Awards in 2009 and 2018. In 2010 to 2011, UMM also achieved 2-star university from the internationally renowned institution. In addition, UMM has also been an associate member of the AUNQA, the Asian University Association. UMM students are highly heterogeneous. They come from all corners of the nation as well as overseas. There are 11 faculties and 57 study programs offered in UMM, starting from the diploma level, undergraduate, graduate to doctoral programs. Among those, 4 of UMM study programs have been internationally accredited and certified by the AUNQA. Some of the list of faculty and study programs in this university are all faculties and study programs are equipped with high-standard laboratories, which are all centrally managed by the UMM Central Laboratory Office. UMM laboratories have achieved the International Standardization Organization (ISO) and the National Accreditation Committee. and so we are qualified to perform laboratory tests for other agencies such as companies or other universities. In addition to academic facilities, UMM also offers many business units which serve as the university income centres. Those business units allow the university to have more sources of income for its operational costs, thus we do not merely depend on the funding generated from the students. We have UMM Dome, UMM Hospital, Sarya Medica Hospital in Sumbawa, UMM Gas Station, Motorbike and Car Workshop, Micro Hydro Power Plant, UMM Sang Sarya Apartment, UMM Rinjani Credit Bank, UMM Farm Agriculture Production Centre, UMM Sangkaling Recreational Park and UMM Kapel Garden Hotel. All those business units also serve as the applied laboratories in order to boost UMM students' entrepreneurship skills. As an internationally reputable university, UMM is proud to have conducted many international outreach programs with various academic activities such as seminars, conferences, research projects, as well as student, staff and faculty member exchange programs with numerous overseas universities and institutions. So far, UMM has established active collaborations with 111 universities, as well as governmental and non-governmental institutions from a total of 31 countries around the world. Among others are UMM students and lecturers embraces creativity and innovation in developing their research and academic works, as well as to perform community service programs. This enthusiasm for working and innovating has been the main urge for UMM students of Communication Science major to renovate the slum area of Jolapan to be the colourful neighbourhood area, more commonly known in Indonesia as Kawasan Kampung Warna-Warni, which is renowned internationally, as well as to create the Tempenasor Green Neighbourhood, Kampung Hijau Tempenosaurus, located in Beji village, which is acknowledged by the Indonesian Museum of Record, MURI. On top of that, the robotic team of UMM has 3 times in a row won the International Robotic Competition in the US. UMM is also renowned for its energy independence. For more than a decade, UMM has established its own power plant, the Micro Hydro Power Plant. After gaining success in the university area, this power plant concept was expanded by establishing other micro hydro power plants in Sumbamarung, Kamrasuku village, Malang Regency, and in the Boonsbrin tourism area. This program has successfully established 4,000 electricity connections in the local resident houses. Success starts from the courage to dream and to move forward for better change. Your steps today determine your roles in the future, to be students and graduates who are ready to actively work and contribute for the nation. Students today, leaders tomorrow.
Guys, this is Malang.
And we are students of UMM. How exciting is it to be studying in UMM?
What's more?
This is so exciting!
Undergoing a series of processes in this wide campus resembles a commitment to excel. The tagline, "Each achievement is worth appreciation," is reverbing and proven to be real. International robotic contest winners are freed from writing theses. Filming novelists deserves the same scenario. Successful entrepreneurs are offered the same change. More success stories are ready to unveil.
the students' achievements, the campus itself hits marvelous. Accredited an excellent A from Bank PT. Granted ASEAN Energy Award triggers UMM to be an energy generating and saving campus. 13 times in a row awarded as the first ranked private university in East Java. Central Laboratory guarantees its quality assurance. The quality is evident by being ISO 9001 and ISO 75025, certified laboratories by National Accreditation Committee. Recognized beyond national scope, most study programs have been internationally certified and accredited by OQA, EAB, World Federation Medical Education, and more to go. In 2021, UMM is recognized by Unirank as the world's best Islamic university.
Ucapkan selamat kepada perguruan tinggi Muhammadiyah yang telah berhasil menduduki top Islamic Universities versi Unirank, yakni Universitas Muhammadiyah Malang pada peringkat 1. Selamat dan sukses kepada perguruan tinggi Muhammadiyah.
I guarantee there are a lot more to come. UMM has shaped its international atmosphere. UMM students are welcome to opportunities to study with foreign incoming students via HAPS or scholarships, to name regular track, KNB, Dharma Siswa, language and cultural immersion tailored by BIPA. UMM on campus international corners offer cozy space. American corner, China corner, Thai corner, India corner, and Aussie Banget corner. UMM is renowned for its international community service programs and internships. International collaborations are overflowing. Let's say a collaboration with Temasek Foundation Singapore for community engagement in both countries, Confucius Institute China for lecturer and student exchange, ACICIS Australia inviting Australian scholars to dive into Indonesian cultures, and Mid-Care Japan promoting UMM graduates as a fast ticket to work in Japan. Last but not least, partnership with Erasmus Plus, European Union Consortium offering international studies, teaching, and research in Europe, and many more. Wow!
Baik Bapak Ibu dan juga hadirin semuanya, adik-adik mahasiswa, sebentar lagi Bapak Dekan dan juga pemateri akan naik ke atas, jadi kita akan bersiap untuk pembukaan. Jadi saya mohon tadi ya kalian memperhatikan dan juga kuisnya ya, seperti yang tadi sudah disampaikan oleh Pak Zahid, mohon lebih diperhatikan. Kemudian jangan lupa untuk HP nanti tolong di silent ya. Jadi jangan kalian fokus ke materi yang disampaikan. And for our online participants, in a few minutes we will start our opening ceremony for international short course. Please turn on your camera during the event and pay attention and enjoy. Thank you. Itu mataku ke situ. Enggak, maksudnya kalau di situ aku melihat ke sana, itu ke sana. Ya. Sana, mataku ke sana kan? Oke. Ya, aku lihat kameranya kan? Ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Nursing International Short Course, Update in Tropical Nursing and Medicine, an issue of infectious disease clinics and community. Singing Indonesia Raya and Mars Sang Surya, all audience are asked to stand up. Sang Surya.
Dua
audience, please sit down. Respectable Dean and Vice Dean of Faculty of Health Sciences, University of Muhammadiyah Malang, the Honorable the Chair Lady of the Nursing International Short Course, the Honorable all guest speakers, Dr. Laura Nafika Yamani, PhD, Dr. Rusnani, and Mrs. Yayu Nidaul Fitriyah, MCAP, and all participants of this Nursing International Short Course. My name is Olivia Fresca Dwi Marta. It's a precious chance for me to be your Master of Ceremony on this very special occasion on Nursing International Short Course, Update in Tropical Nursing and Medicine, an issue of infectious disease, clinics, and community, held by School of Nursing, University of Muhammadiyah, Malang. First of all, let's say thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has given us guidance, happiness, healthy, and mercy, so we can attend and participate in this special event without any obstacles. Praise and salutation upon our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who had brought us to the path of light from the darkness in this life. I would like to welcome all of our speakers and audience from Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, and Philippines. On this special event, we have several agendas as follows: opening, singing Indonesia Raya and Marsang Surya, reciting the Holy Quran, remarks and opening from the Dean, main lectures, and the last is closing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the event by reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Move on to the next agenda is reciting the Holy Quran, who will be recited by Melanie Indriani. To Melanie Indriani, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Wa'tasimu bihablillahi jami'an wa la tafarraqu. واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون ولكنتم منكم أمة يدعون إلى الخير ويأمرون بالمعروف وينحون عن المنكر وأولئك هم المفلحون صدق الله العظيم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Melanie Indriani, who has recited the Holy Quran. May Allah always bless us. Amin. The next agenda is remarks and opening from the Dean of Faculty of Health Sciences, University of Muhammadiyah Malang, to Dr. Yoyo Bekti Prasetyo. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahilladzi arsala rasulahu bil huda wa dinil haq liyudhhirahu 'ala dini kulli walau karihal musyrikun. Asyhadu alla ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu amma ba'du. Ya ini karena harus berbahasa Inggris, saya harus baca ini. Kalau nggak baca nggak bisa ini. Ini saya mulai dari mana ini ya? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Faculty of Health Science, University of Muhammadiyah Malang. Yang terhormat dulu ini ya, Bu Laura dari Universitas Erlangga, terima kasih sudah hadir di Malang, di UMM. Tadi sempat sedikit nyasar, itu bukan nyasar ya, memang tempat awalnya harusnya di kampus 3. Tadi Ibu Laura sudah sempat nyampe kampus 3 baru ke sini. Jadi mohon maaf karena agak molor sedikit tadi itu. Dan ya alhamdulillah hikmahnya itu Bu Laura tahu kampus 3 itu. Jadi yang besar di sana Bu, yang kecil di sini. Tapi yang kecil ini sudah bisa berbuat banyak, kira-kira begitu. Yang kami hormati, terima kasih. Silakan. Yang kami hormati, ini ada Bu Tri Lestari, Pak Fakih, Ibu Bapak dosen Bu Nurul Aini, Bapak dosen yang lainnya, dan para pimpinan di program studi ada Pak Edi, Bu Melisa selaku Kaprodi Sekprodi, Bu Indah Kaprodi D3, Bu Anis Sekprodi di program Profesinas, Bu Heni selaku ketua, kalau nggak salah ya Bu Heni ya, ketua ya. Pokoknya di mana-mana Bu Heni ini ketua deh pokoknya. Ya, welcome to faculty tadi sudah. Very warm greeting to the participant and the audience here for this seminar. Oh ya, saya lupa juga harus menyambut the welcome to student from Thailand, from Philippines and Malaysia in University of Muhammadiyah, Malang, Indonesia. Good morning. I am more than grateful to stand here and welcome you all to this Nursing International Short Course. On behalf of the organizer, I would like to express my gratitude to all of you who have come together from various city and country. Tadi sudah kita sebut, country-nya ada yang dari Malaysia, dari Filipina, dan dari Thailand ya. For your cooperation which has enabled us to conduct a highly fruitful Nursing International Short Course. Firstly, I would like to thank the committee for organizing the event for the benefit of the student. With your continuous effort and will to do something for society and move up toward a successful and fulfilling world. We all had the opportunity to be present here together. The theme of our short course, update in tropical nursing of medicine and issues of infectious disease, clinic and community. In an interesting topic where several health professionals could share the research, interest and exchange information with the other in order to build an evidence which can be used to solve health problem. This topic is broadly understanding and could be implemented in every aspect of human life. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all participants who joined this meeting enthusiastically and share their research result with other profession. Finally, I would like to thank our own staff for organizing this event and ensuring it runs so smoothly. It is my hope that based on face-to-face relationship established through this short course, in the future we will able to respond together to issue that we have in common and achieve our common objective. Ladies and gentlemen, saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I will open the Nursing International Short Course. I thank you once again for your participation. Thank you very much. Kira-kira begitu sambutannya dalam bahasa Inggris. Mohon maaf, sama-sama tidak mengertinya kan? Ya kira-kira kita mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim untuk sama-sama membuka acara ini. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ya, karena yang mendengarkan ada mahasiswa dari Thailand, ada dari Malaysia, ada yang dari mana tadi? Filipina, sehingga harus berbahasa Inggris dalam membukanya. Ya sehari-harinya pakai bahasa Indonesia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Yoyo Bhakti Prasetyo, for the speech and for opening. Before we start, all the committee, lecturers, Dr. Yoyo and Dr. Laura, please take a picture together. Please move forward. The next agenda is main lecture from Dr. Laura Nafika Yamani, PhD, from Airlangga University, by the title Tropical Disease in Psych, Advances and Challenges, and will be moderated with Mrs. Indah Dwi Pratiwi, Master of Nursing. Mrs. Indah and Dr. Laura, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, students. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Respectable Dean of Faculty of Health Sciences, Bapak Dr. Yoyo Bhakti Prasetyo, Magister Keperawatan, Spesialis Keperawatan Komunitas, the Honorable all lecturers, at the nursing departments of Muhammadiyah University, and then also the participants of this international short course taking the topic of tropical and infectious disease. So ladies and gentlemen, I am Indah and I will be your moderator today, and I'm very pleased to see you here and welcome you all to this beautiful campus. And also, I would like to invite our speakers today. She is Mrs. Laura Nafika Yamani, PhD, and she is a lecturer from Airlangga University and from Faculty of Public Health, Department of Epidemiology in population studies and health promotion, and also biostatistic. And she is also one of the researchers from Institute of Tropical Disease, Erlangga University. And I will read a little bit of her curriculum vitae. Her educational background, she has graduated from bachelor and master degree in biochemistry at Erlangga University, and also has been awarded as the best graduates. Give applause to Bu Laura. And then she continued her study for Doctor of Philosophy from Kobe University Graduate School of Medicine in Japan. Mastering in Infectious Disease of Pathology, Division of Molecular Medicine and Medical Genetics. And she also have numerous awards that has been awarded to her. Young Investigator Award of Kobe University in 2015, Travel Bursary Award of the 15th OIG International Forum on Infection and Immunity in 2016, and also in 2020, she has been awarded as a peneliti aktif bidang life science, and also artikel berkualitas dari Ristek Print. Wow, amazing, amazing works. And for 10 years, she has published 31 articles that has been published in a reputable international journal, and also have been cited for almost 180 citations. And I think it's always counting more. And then she also published some books. I will not read them by one because I think there's a lot of books that you have been written, and I believe that your book is also the topic here is pandemic corona, virus globalisasi, and then vaccine COVID-19. So your research have a lots of topic in COVID-19 during COVID-19 pandemic, right? Okay, so before she begin her presentation, I would like to inform you that the presentation that will be delivered by her will be approximately 45 minutes, and then for the last session there will be a question and answer session. So all of the audience here, and also international students who are joining us via Zoom meeting, are able to asking a question later. Okay, so Mrs. Laura Nafikaya Mani PhD, the floor is yours to deliver your presentation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Honorable the Dean of Faculty of Health Science, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Honorable Head of Department of the Faculty of Health Science, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Honorable the Head of the Study Program, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Malang. Thank you very much for the organizing committee to invite me here, for having me today in this excellent short course seminar, Nursing International short course held by the Universitas Muhammadiyah Malang on January 4th. And also honorable for the audience, the participants today come from the students, Faculty of Health Science, Universitas Muhammadiyah Malang, and also I heard some participants from the foreigner, from the Philippines, Malaysia, and also from Thailand. Thank you so much for coming, for joining with us. Today, I think still new days in the beginning 2023. I would like to say Happy New Year for all participants here. We hope that everything is going well in this year as our planning, and also may Allah give us a happiness, happiness to us, happiness to our family, and also happiness to people surrounding with us. The organizing committee asked me to share the information with the topic about the tropical and infectious disease, about the insights, advances, and challenges. So I will try to share my perspective related with this topic today. Hopefully everyone can follow my talk today. Before I start my talk, let me introduce myself. My name is Laura. I am from the Universitas Erlangga. In my daily activity, I am a lecturer in the Faculty of Public Health, as mentioned Bu Indah as a moderator. And also I am a researcher in the Institute of Tropical Disease, Universitas Erlangga, or we can call as the ITD UNER. Maybe some of you have the experience to visit my university and also visit especially in the ITD UNER. If not, please welcome to ITD UNER. Because if you know, the ITD UNER is the research center located in the Universitas Erlangga. During pandemic COVID-19, ITD UNER is one of the 3 laboratorium which help our government to detect the COVID-19 at that time, beyond the Eichmann laboratory and also Litbangkes laboratory Kemenkes. And ITD UNER is also one of the laboratory is pointed by the Ministry of Health Indonesia to determine, to examine the whole genome sequencing, WGS, WGS of the COVID-19, to know, to understand about the variant of the COVID-19. So we can know the spreading of the variant of COVID-19 because in ITD UNER, we have the sophisticated machine we call as the NGS, next generation sequencing. So from that machine, we can see the sequence of the virus, because the COVID-19 caused by the virus SARS-CoV-2. So we detect not only the positive and negative sample, we don't examine only positive or negative sample, but also we continue to know the variant, to know the mutation of the virus SARS-CoV-2, and we can obtain the kind of the variant inside. For example, come from the alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and the last variant we call as the Omicron. And not finished from the Omicron, Omicron grew up and developed into the some subvariant. So many subvariant come. For example, in the last we call as the XBB. If you follow the information in the television, in the news, in the radio, so the Omicron growing up to the several subvariant. And today I will give the information in general about the tropical infectious disease, insight, advance, and challenges. So the first, next slide please. About the insights, here I divided into the several information, several discussion. The first one about the term of the tropical disease. Second one about the influencing factors of the tropical diseases. The third one about the major tropical diseases. This based on the WHO data. And one kind of the tropical infectious diseases we call as the neglected tropical disease. So maybe I will give the some information generally about the neglected tropical diseases. And also during pandemic COVID-19, we already known if they are the threat of the tropical infectious disease another type we call as the emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases. So COVID-19 is one of the emerging infectious diseases. Why we call as the emerging infectious diseases? Later on I will discuss about this. And the last but not least, I also will share about the One Health concept. So the first one about the term of the tropical infectious diseases. Everybody know what is the definition about the tropical infectious diseases? Yeah. Term of the tropical infectious diseases actually was firstly introduced by health researcher from the West, from the Europe and America. But at that time, this term about the tropical of infectious diseases has the negative connotation. Why? Because the research from the Europe and America, they found several diseases appear in the several areas, in the tropical and subtropical areas, supported by the behavior in the community inside. What kind of the behavior in the community inside? Why they call the negative connotation? Because related with the unhealthy lifestyle, poor hygiene, bad sanitation, and etc. So that's why in the first introduction about the tropical infectious disease, this term has the negative connotation. But after more investigation related with the tropical infectious diseases, this disease actually not only correlate with this behavior in the community inside, like I mentioned before, but also is influenced by the several factors, such as climate, demography, socioeconomic, and also genetic factors. And after more investigation, this disease not only found in the tropical and subtropical areas. Now, this tropical disease also found in the temperate climates, such as in Europe and America. and maybe different frequency of the findings of the tropical infectious disease. And next, I would like to share the information related with the influencing factors of the tropical disease based on the geographical factors. As we know that tropical infectious disease, the word come from because this disease is found in the tropical and subtropical areas. So relate with the geographical factors. And the definition of the tropical disease, we can define as any disease that is indigenous to tropical or subtropical areas of the world. So maybe you know some tropical infectious disease like in Indonesia, we have a lot of the malaria cases, we have the cholera disease, and some of tropical infectious disease come from the different continent, like the Africa. For example, like Chagas disease, sleeping sickness disease, and etc. And based on the geographical factors, yeah, we really know this is correlated with the condition in the tropical and subtropical areas, because in this area has humidity and the hot condition. As you can see in the map, the tropical and subtropical areas near with the equator lines, like here. And this condition in the tropical and subtropical disease, very good environment for breeding some of the factors that's as the transmission of the infectious diseases. And also this condition, humidity and the hot condition, a good environment for the several pathogens of the infectious diseases. And based on the social factors, we can see that tropical infectious disease, sometimes people do not care about that disease, and they are downplayed about the infectious diseases because they feel that this disease not happen. Yeah, not happen. Why? Because many of the tropical infectious diseases are asymptomatic. Do you know asymptomatic? Yeah, asymptomatic, the disease without the symptoms. So they are not realized if they are infected with the tropical infectious disease. They are asymptomatic because some tropical infectious diseases have the long period of the incubation. So the connection between the death and the infectious tropical disease has been latent for the long periods of time is not often realized. So suddenly death, but they are not realized if the death caused by the tropical infectious diseases. And also in countries, tropical and subtropical areas, we have the stigma. We have the stigma about the tropical infectious diseases like the HIV, like lepra, you know. So because of the stigma, they are infected with the HIV or the lepra, they don't want to access the health or the care facilities. So they are not treated. And this is cause the spreading of the tropical infectious diseases. So they are not treated, they are reservoir of the tropical infectious diseases, and they can spread the virus or bacteria or pathogen to another community. And also, the tropical infectious diseases sometimes associated with the developing countries, with the poor economic and social condition. So we can see in this figure, we can differentiate the condition in the developed countries and developing countries. So in developing countries, where much of the population live in the condition of the extreme poverty, so this condition can contribute to the spread of the infectious diseases and leading the cause of death. But when we compare with the developed countries, they have the good prevention, the good controlling for the infectious diseases. So that's why they can maintain the spreading of the infectious diseases, and the population in the developed countries, they can access the health or the care facilities easily than in the developing countries. And another issue about the environmental risk. So we can see from this figure, so the condition in the developing countries here, we still found many urban slums house, like in the right picture. So many urban slums houses in the developing countries. So this condition also contribute to spreading of the infectious diseases. And also another issue about the farming area. Maybe you know about the farming area condition in our country. Usually together with the houses, the located the farming area near with the houses of the farmer. So this is the critical points, the spreading of the infectious diseases, because we have the theory from the data of research, close and intensive farming of the single species should reduce the risk of the cross-species infection. So you can imagine when the human lives together with the livestock animal, for example, a chicken, cow. So animal, they has the disease itself, and human also. So sometimes when we contact closely each other between the human and animal every day, because the farming location near with the houses, so maybe in the future the disease from the animal can jump to the human. We call as the zoonosis disease. And another issue about the economic factors, this is, of course, tropical infectious diseases grow up easily in the developing countries. So population with the low income, and they have the limitation access to the health facilities. So this is contribute to difficulties for curing of the tropical infectious diseases. Not only contributed by the economic factors, but also impact to the economic stability. When the spreading of the tropical infectious diseases increase, it means that people should be isolated in the one area, and they will lose the work. So that's why also impact to the economic stability. Like when pandemic COVID-19 come, there is the limitation mobility of the people, of the population, cannot go work, cannot go study, cannot go everywhere. because to maintain the to break of the chain transmission of the tropical infectious diseases. So this is the financial impact due to the infection disease. As you can see in the table, not only in the one aspect, but more aspect can be impacted by the spreading of the tropical infectious diseases. And based on the climate change factors, yeah, this is the important issue because many activities from the human can contribute to the climate change. So for example, there are many flood, there are many hot condition because of the activities from the human, for example, like that. So the climate change can result in the change of the human socio demographic and massive migration because the environment of the staying in the before not comfortable, so they move to another places to get the good environment, good condition, good places. So there is the massive migration because of the climate change factors. So the migration here also accompanied with the change of the geographical distribution, like the wild animal, insect, rodents, and every kind inside. So this is the perspective about the migration and cultural change factors also contribute to spreading of the tropical infectious diseases. We know this is the history come from the Africa. So because of the migration of the people, of the population in the Africa, even in the within Africa, and also migration out of Africa, some tropical infectious disease come out. For example, like malaria, tuberculosis, smallpox, leprosy, cholera, and because of the globalization era, we have the treat of the tropical infectious diseases like the HIV, AIDS, and etc. So this slide show to us about the major tropical disease. So this is the data from the WHO. WHO estimate the cause-specific mortality from the tropical infectious diseases in 2015. The WHO classified the top tropical infectious diseases come here. So like diarrheal disease, and then tuberculosis, HIV, malaria, hepatitis, dengue, and etc. And we can see from the figure, the color representative the countries, the color. So we can see Indonesia with what color? Too small, yeah, so sorry, too small. Yeah, Indonesia also have the color blue. So we can see from the figure, if Indonesia has more cases about the diarrheal disease, and then tuberculosis, dengue, rabies, and etc. You can see more detail later in this slide. And this slide also show to us about the burden disease in the right side and the death cases in the left side. This is the pathogen of the common tropical disease. Actually, WHO classified the agent of disease depend on the pathogen. For example, here come from the viruses, come from the bacteria, come from the protozoa, come from the fungi and helminths. So depend on the which pathogen caused the disease. So I want to show about the one kind of the tropical infectious diseases we call as the neglected tropical disease, or NTD here. What is the meaning of the NTD? We can define NTD as the diverse group of the tropical infectious diseases and mostly affect the poverty population, poverty communities, and mostly affect the women. Why we call as the neglected? Because the people infected with the tropical infectious disease, they don't realize, they don't care about this disease. Actually, this disease already spread in the community. And what is the kind of the neglected tropical disease? You can see in the blue color, this is the kind of the neglected tropical disease, including the dengue, malaria, like we find in Indonesia. And about the emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases, what is the difference between the neglected tropical infectious diseases and the emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases? If neglected tropical infectious diseases, usually in the endemic condition. Endemic means that disease already happened in the community with the expected level. For example, dengue. So we just can reduce, we can eliminate, but we still cannot eradicate the neglected tropical infectious diseases. But for the emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases, this is the basic definition. We can define the emerging infectious diseases as the new disease recognized in the human host for the first time. So previously, there is no the human infected with the disease, and then suddenly the disease come to the population and infect the human. We call as the emerging infectious diseases. But what is the difference with the term of the re-emerging infectious diseases? We can define the re-emerging infectious diseases. Actually, the human population have ever infected with the emerging infectious diseases at that time, and then can reduce, can eliminate, even can eradicate that disease, and then disappear. But suddenly, in the several times, that disease come again in the population, in the community. So we call as the re-emerging infectious diseases. For example, this is because of the new geographical area. Oh yeah, thank you. New geographical area, because of the new resistance to medical or reappearance after appearance control or elimination. For example, this disease actually have the vaccine preventable. We call as the vaccine preventable disease, but the pathogen mutate into the new variant. So that's why the vaccine cannot eradicate, cannot against the new virus. So become the re-emerging infectious diseases. And this is the One Health concept. Why we need consider about the One Health concept? Because the appearance of emerging and re-emerging infectious disease mostly from the zoonosis disease. Zoonosis disease, the disease come from the animal, jump to the human species. So it means that we need to consider also about the animal health. We don't focus only in the health human, but also in the animal health, because we don't know in the future the disease from the animal come to the human. So for the advice. Stop. Yeah, stop. Yes, so sorry because I have the remaining time only 10 minutes, so maybe I will show you some slide in the last. So yeah, after we know we have the knowledge, we have the understanding about the tropical infectious diseases, what is for next? So we should control the spreading of the infectious diseases. We should control the reservoir. Reservoir can be human, can be animal. So we should prevent, how we prevent the tropical infectious disease spreading, how we can detect the tropical infectious disease, and how we can get the fast, quick response to the tackle of the infectious diseases. And we should interrupt the transmission. We should break off-chain transmission. And we should know the characteristic about the host, this about the human host. So this is the important thing to control the spreading of the infectious diseases. We should detect, how we can detect, especially for the new emergence infectious diseases. So it means that we should prepare about the technology that can detect that disease. So we should have the early diagnosis. So this is the good chance, because if we have the technology to early detection or early diagnosis, it means that we can bear the spreading more and more infectious diseases. Because if this happen, this is the difficult to contain. So in our institute in ITD, we are not only detect the positive for the agent of disease, for example, virus, bacteria, and others, but we also try to see the characteristic of the agent of disease, the characteristic of the pathogens. So we do the surveillance genomic. So this is the important effort to stop the spreading of the infectious diseases, because sometimes the pathogen, they can change to another strain, to another species, for example, like that. Yeah, we need the notification. For example, in our place, they are the patient, they are the people infected, sick with the several symptoms. We should realize what kind of disease they are suffer. And also we have the epidemiological investigation. For example, if in one area already detect the one cases, one disease, it means that we must see the surrounding of the patient. Maybe there is the another cases, there is the more cases, not only the patient already detected. And also to tackle the spreading of the tropical infectious diseases, we need the isolation. So that's why when pandemic COVID-19 come, we need isolated. If we already infected, we are positive for the COVID-19. So this is to keep the transmission to another community, because if we are already infected and then contact with others in the community, so we give the risk of the infection to the others. And also we need the treatment. For example, if we are infected, we are positive, we have the symptoms of some disease, we need to go the care facilities to have the treatment. And quarantine, what is the difference between the quarantine and isolation? So this term actually like similar, but different meaning. If isolation for the people already infected, but the quarantine for the people have the contact with the positive patient. So they are not yet to examine yet they are infected or not, but because they have the potential to be infected, so they are need to be isolated or quarantined. So yeah, of course, we need interrupt of the transmission. And this is the last slide. We should know about the susceptible of host. For example, come from the people with the old age, for example, like that, or people with the comorbid condition, so they are susceptible to be infected. So we can give we can provide to keep on the susceptible host with the some way. For example, we give the vaccination for them, like we have the experience in the pandemic COVID-19. Okay, because the time is limited, thank you for the time. That's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bu Laura. Give applause. You may be seated. Thank you. So, students and all the participants here now come to the question and answer session. So if you have any queries or question, please raise your hand, and then you may come to the microphone at the center of the hall. And then please say your name, your class, and you may ask the questions. You may also asking in Indonesian. Yeah, is that right? Okay. Silakan ke mic.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sebelumnya mohon izin saya memperkenalkan diri. Perkenalkan, nama saya Mariska Sumardiko, NIM 2019-104-203-111. Saya dari kelas C. Saya izin bertanya terkait materi yang disampaikan oleh Ibu. tadi yang di slide terkait faktor-faktor yang mempengaruhi terjadinya tropical and infection disease ini. Nah itu kan tadi ada faktor iklim, sosial dan sosial ekonomi. Nah yang kita tahu di Indonesia itu kan masih banyaknya masyarakat yang hidup di lingkungan yang kumuh atau masih tidak apa ya seperti di slide yang ditampilkan tadi. Nah, bagaimana cara kita untuk mengedukasi mereka terkait penyakit tropical disease ini? Sedangkan yang kita ketahui masih banyak tuh mereka yang berpikiran apalagi yang orang yang sosial ekonominya masih kurang gitu. Mereka hanya memikirkan untuk makan besoknya itu apa, tapi tidak memikirkan, tidak terlalu mementingkan terkait kebersihan. Nah, itu cara kita untuk mengedukasi mereka agar mencegah penyakit-penyakit tropical disease ini berkembang itu seperti apa? Itu. Terima kasih.
Iya, jawab langsung pakai bahasa Indonesia? Boleh. Ya. Mungkin saya izin pakai bahasa Indonesia ya, mungkin lebih mengerti nanti buat teman-teman semua. Tadi siapa yang bertanya, Mbak? Mariska, ya bagus ya pertanyaannya. Memang penyakit infeksi tropis ini kompleks, ya. Jadi faktor-faktor yang mempengaruhinya juga sangat beragam, ya. Itu tadi yang saya tampilkan mungkin bagian kecil ya, dan penjelasannya mungkin detailnya juga sangat kompleks seperti itu. Tadi juga disebutkan oleh Mbak Mariska, kalau kondisi kita ya, masyarakat kita ini kan memang ya Indonesia sendiri ya, ini kan diklasifikasikan sebagai negara yang berkembang ya. Artinya juga populasi yang ada di dalamnya ini struggle ya, terkait dengan ekonomi. Nah ini yang kemudian juga berkontribusi terkait dengan penyebaran. Nah kalau ditanya bagaimana kita bisa menyadarkan ya masyarakat biar tahu bahwa kondisi penyebaran dari penyakit infeksi tropis ini sangat serius gitu ya, jadi bukan hal yang remeh temeh gitu ya, jadi harus disikapi secara serius oleh masyarakat kita. Nah tentunya karena dengan keterbatasan yang ada ya, jadi kalau kondisi ekonomi tadi yang mungkin tidak memungkinkan sehingga dia harus tinggal di tempat yang bisa dikatakan tanda kutip kumuh gitu ya, mungkin itu juga bukan menjadi pilihan masyarakat itu gitu, jadi pinginnya ya mereka bisa hidup secara layak ya, tapi karena kondisi yang ya tidak memungkinkan sehingga mereka mencari lahan ya, misalkan di kolong jembatan, di tempat-tempat yang seharusnya ya tidak menjadi tempat tinggal seperti itu. Ya yang bisa kita lakukan paling tidak adalah kita memberikan promosi kesehatan ya. Jadi mensasar kelompok masyarakat yang seperti yang tadi ya, tinggal di daerah-daerah kumuh gitu. Jadi paling tidak ya diberikan sedikit pengetahuan seperti itu. Jadi kalaupun kita tidak bisa mengentas secara total gitu ya. Jadi dan pemberian itu tidak hanya satu aspek ya, artinya tidak hanya untuk aspek kesehatan, tetapi juga bagaimana kita bisa berkontribusi untuk bisa meningkatkan aspek yang lain, misalkan ekonomi, sosial dan seterusnya. Karena itu akan saling terkait satu sama lain. Jadi kalau ekonominya bagus ya harapannya kesehatannya bagus seperti itu. Jadi yang bisa dilakukan adalah ketika teman-teman punya kegiatan seperti pengabdian kepada masyarakat, itu lebih mensasar pada kelompok tersebut seperti itu. Jadi kalau bisa dilihat mana sih daerah yang masih dirasa kumuh. Jadi paling tidak kalau tidak bisa merubah secara total kondisinya, tapi sudah memberikan sedikit kesadaran buat mereka. Jadi apa yang bisa mereka lakukan, misalkan mereka harus mencari air yang bersih ya. Jadi itu, dan itu juga butuh support dari pemerintah, tidak hanya kita pinginnya masyarakat itu sadar gitu ya, tapi kalau nggak ada support secara infrastruktur itu juga akan menjadi lebih sulit untuk diselesaikan seperti itu, karena ini sangat kompleks. Mungkin itu mudah-mudahan menjawab.
Terima kasih. Thank you. Okay, is there any other question? Tadi sebelahnya ada yang raise hand. At the back yang belakang. Boleh? Anak 2019. Nah, yang mengambil mata kuliah Tropical Disease. Silahkan. Oh, yang di Zoom. Okay. Okay, is there any question from the international students? You may also type your question at the chat box. Ada? Tidak ada. Ayo adik-adik. One more? No more? Probably from the lecturers? Okay, Bu Lestari. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for opportunity. I want to ask you about how can condition in Indonesia prevent the tropical infection disease? Maybe you have a solution about this problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bu Lestari.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question from Bu Lestari. I think this is the important questions and the good questions. Yeah, because tropical infectious diseases is spread in Indonesia much. So we are struggle to prevent. Yeah, we cannot do effort to the break of chain transmission of the tropical infectious diseases alone. So we need the collaboration in the several sectors, and also we need the support from our government. And yeah, hopefully in the collaboration between several sectors can get the more impact to break of chains the transmission.
For nursing.
Oh, for nursing, yeah.
Because mostly the students are coming from nursing students.
Okay, yeah. I think because nursing work in the health facilities, for example, like the hospital, like the puskesmas, health center facilities, and etc. So yeah, also the important things because we have the several prevention steps, several prevention way. Not only for the primary prevention, but we need the second prevention and also like the third prevention and tertiary prevention. I think for the nursing, they can do in the like secondary and the third prevention because they care the patient in the health facilities. Like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer. So ladies and gentlemen and all of the students here, we finally come to the end of the seminar. Thank you for Bu Laura for the informative and interesting topics about tropical diseases. And before we close this the first session of this seminar, give applause to Bu Laura. Okay, thank you. Now I will give it back to the Master of Ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Indah Dwi Pratiwi and Dr. Laura Navika Yamani, PhD, for giving us informative and wonderful presentation. The next agenda is giving speaker certificate and souvenir to the head of School of Nursing, Mr. Edi Purwanto, Master of Nursing. Please come forward to give the certificate and souvenir to Dr. Laura. Thus, the lecture from Dr. Laura Navika Yamani, PhD. Thank you for your very good lecture. May all of us get the value and benefits from your lecture. Now, we will begin the next agenda. The second material, entitled Prevention and Control Program for Tropical Disease in Developing Countries, by Dr. Rusnani, and the third material, entitled Symptoms and Nursing Diagnosis in Hospitalized Patients with Dengue Fever, by Yayu Nida Ul Fitriah, SCUP and SMCUP. And this lecture will be moderated by Mrs. Risa Herlianita, Master of Science. Mrs. Risa Herlianita, time is yours.
Thank you, Mrs. Olivia. And good morning, all participants. Dear students, the next agenda will begin soon. Please prepare yourself. And thank you very much for joining the second session of this agenda. And I invite the honorable speaker today, Dr. Rusnani. Good morning, Dr. Rusnani.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And also, I also invite Mrs. Yayu Nidal Fitria. Good morning, Mrs. Yayu.
Good morning.
Okay.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining this international short course. And I'm Risa, the moderator of today, the second session. I'm very pleased to see you here again and welcome you to this international short course on day 1 for the second session. The topic for this session will be delivered by 2 speakers. The first topic is Prevention and Control Program for Tropical Disease in Developing Countries, and the second topic is Symptom and Nursing Diagnosis in Hospitalized Patients with Dengue Fever. First of all, I will inform the CV for our speakers today. Dr. Rusnani, she is from University Teknologi Mara, Malaysia. She graduated in Doctor of Philosophy in Nursing from University Teknologi Mara, Malaysia in 2019. And the field of her expertise in midwifery, community, medical and surgical nursing, and also nursing education. She has many publications in international journals and grants for several awards. And Dr. Rusnani will deliver a prevention and control program for tropical disease in developing countries. For Dr. Rusnani, the time is about 50 minutes. And we will hear the presentation from Dr. Rusnani. Please, Dr. Rusnani, time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can you see my slide?
Yes, already seen in slide.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum and good morning to all the participants of the Nursing International short course regarding update in tropical nursing and medicine and issue of infections, disease, clinic and community. First of all, thank you to the University Muhammadiyah Malang, especially Dr. Yoyo, Dr. Henny, and others that invited me as a speaker for this morning and to share our knowledge and make collaboration teaching. Okay, today I will present my topic regarding prevention and control program for tropical disease in developing countries.
I'm sorry, Dr. Rusnani, the slide
Yes?
has a slideshow. Maybe you can. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
First for all, we look what is meaning of the infectious disease. Infectious disease can be defined a dose that separate from person to person or from animal to people. This is the meaning of the infectious disease. And then we go to what is meaning of the why the infections is very important that we want to know, because the infections remains the main causes of morbidity and mortality in men, particularly in underdeveloped areas where it is associated with the poverty or overcrowding. So, in the developed world, increasing the prosperity, universal immunization and antibiotic have reduced the prevalence of the infectious disease. In the development world, success such as the eradication of smallpox have been balanced and outweighed by the new plague. The infectious disease can cause nearly 25% of all the human death. So, regarding the study, 2 billion people or 1/3 of the world population are infected with the tuberculosis. 500 million people catch for the malaria every year, and 200 million are infected with the schistosomiasis, that meaning of the disease that caused by the parasitic worms. Infections are often multiple, and there is a synergy both between different infections and between infections and other factors such as malnutrition. Many of the infectious diseases affecting the developing countries are preventable or treatable, but they continue to thrive owing the lack of the money and political will. So I go explain little bit the means of the transmission of infectious disease that from the contact, for example, that require direct or indirect contact, such as from my blood or body fluid, food or water, because of the injection of the contaminated food or water, airborne because of the inhalation of the contaminated air, vector-borne depend on the biology of vector as well as infectivity of organism. Perinatal, for example, similar to the contact the infection However, the contact may occur in utero or during the delivery or by the sexual, meaning that transmission by sexual intercourse. The transmission, the transmission is infectious disease. We can classify as 4 cases, meaning that index, the first case that identified. Second, primary, the case that brings the infection into a population. Secondary cases because of the infected by primary case, and tertiary cases because of the infected by secondary case. The barriers for defense against the infections, we have the 5 element, meaning that our skin that prevent entry of the infections organism unless injured. Severe burn, a patient who died are usually killed by the infections. So much skin is damaged, so they are very vulnerable to the infections. Now we go to the mucous membrane. Mucus is usually rich in enzyme that will kill many pathogens. And then we have the cilia, that are the hair-like, the structured lining the respiratory tract. They work to sweep the foreign particles out of the respiratory tract. And then damaged by the smoking, living smokers are vulnerable to the infections. Because of the coughing help remove the foreign material from the respiratory tract. And then we must care our personal hygiene, because this will help reduce the number of pathogenic organisms on the skin and other surface of the body. I will explain a little bit regarding factors that influencing disease transmission. We have the agent, host, and environment. In agent, the characteristic that have in the agent is infectivity, pathogenicity, virulence, immunogenicity, antigens, antigen stability, survival. And host depends on the age, sex, genotype, behavior, nutritional status, health status. And environment depends on the weather, housing, geography, occupational setting, air quality, and food. Now we go to what is meaning of the pathogenicity. It is means the ability of a microbiological agent to induce disease. So this pathogenicity of the pathogen is related to invasiveness, virulence, number of pathogen, and mutation. That's meaning of the variability. And then what is meaning of the immunogenicity? So meaning that the ability of an organism to produce an immune response that provide protection against reinfection with the same or similar agent. So can be lifelong for limited period and important information for development of vaccines. We go to the incubation period. Incubation period meaning that the time between the exposure and onset of the symptom or signs of the infection. So each disease has the typical incubation period but varies widely. So it requires replication of the organism to some threshold level for producing the symptom. So we must know the meaning of the differences between the epidemic, endemic, and pandemic. Epidemic meaning that the unusual occurrence of disease in a community or region. Some use the term outbreak, meaning that epidemic, same meaning of the outbreak for a small, usually a localized epidemic. Endemic meaning that the constant presence of a disease or infectious agent within a given geographic area or population group without importation from outside. Endemic. Now we go to the pandemic that, for example, current we have the COVID-19 is called pandemic. An epidemic that usually affecting a large proportion of the population occurring over a wide geography area such as a section of nation, the entire nation and a continent of the world. So this is meaning epidemic, the differences, epidemic, endemic and pandemic. And then we go to the what is meaning of the communicable disease? Okay, the communicable disease is an illness due to a specific infectious biological agent or its toxic product capable of being directly or indirectly transmitted from man to man, from animal to man, from animal to animal, or from the environment, which through the air, water, food, and etc. to the man. So the communicable disease is also known as transmissible disease or infectious disease. Okay, now we go to what is the dynamic of the disease transmission, or we call the chain of the infection. We have first we have the source of the reservoir, we have the mode of the transmission, and we have the susceptible of the host. So what is meaning of the reservoir? Reservoir mean divide to the three that have human reservoir, animal reservoir, and non-living reservoir. So the human reservoir have the cases that for primary cases, index cases, secondary cases, that it according to the spectrum of the disease. Maybe the clinical cases can define mild, severe, typical, or atypical. And then subclinical cases and latent infection cases. And we go to the type of the incubatory, and then convalescent, and then the healthy. So in communicable disease is depends on the mode of the transmission is divided to the two, is direct transmission and indirect transmission. Direct transmission meaning that direct contact, droplet infection, contact with soil, inoculation into the skin or mucosa, transplacenta or vesicle. So for the indirect transmission is because of the vehicle borne, vector borne, for example, mechanical, biological, airborne from the droplet, dust, fomite from the bone, and unclean hands and fingers. So in the world, the example of the communicable disease that high risk is malaria, Ebola, cholera, schistosomiasis because of the worm, and then HIV. So the most common tropical disease in Malaysia is the malaria, cholera, yellow fever, and dengue fever. So we go to what is the factors that affect the prevalence and incidence of the disease. Because the incidence is maybe influenced by the demographic factors such as geography, local area, age, gender, race, or ethnicity. So I explained regarding the geography because of the bounded by the borders, whether natural or artificial or political. We go to the natural. Natural meaning that an area may be limited by mountain range, hill, river disease, and so the difference in the disease frequency depends on the temperature, humidity, rainfall, altitude, mineral content in the soil, and the water supply. For example, the malaria is the common area in the tropical climate, such as in Malaysia. So the goiter disease show high prevalent in iodine deficient areas such as in England. This is the source from the Hospital Episode Statistic Department of Health England 2002 until 2003. And then the people who live by the river and use the river water as the main source are more vulnerable to the occurrence of the cholera. So we go to the second, political boundaries. An area can also exist as a result of political effects such as country, state, city, mukin, and village. So each areas may be different in terms of the race, culture, religions, and way of the life. For example, gastric cancer has a very high incidence in Japan, and nasopharyngeal cancer show a high incidence in China. So in the United States, shows that the highest prevalence in the world of the heart attack disease, which is 7,600 cases from the National Health and Nutritional Examination Survey. So we look to the local area. So based on the local area, a disease is limited to a certain place. For example, dengue fever now becoming more contagious in Malaysian part because it reported that from the period 30 to 19 June 2010, a total 942 cases of the dengue fever, which the 5 deaths are reported. So there are several local areas that are labeled as a hotspot, meaning that they're dangerous. We color in the red color, that meaning of the hotspots. Age is very important determinant because it has a close relationship with the morbidity and mortality rates. Because morbidity and mortality increase with the age. In the increasingly contagious case of the H1N1 in Malaysia up to the on the 27 May 2010, a total 23 confirmed cases of the influenza A. So, where it accumulated cases of the 40,772 and the death of the people 87. And majority of them is elderly, children and pregnant women who have the low body immunity. Gender. So the prevalence and incidence of a disease is different between men and women due to the several factors such as physical conditions, hormonal changes, and occupation. So the mortality rate is higher for the men, while the morbidity rate is higher for the woman. So we look to the last factors is nation or ethnicity. The occurrence of a disease is different in different ethnic groups. This difference exists due to the factors such as different exposure to the disease agent, different lifestyle, different place of the resident. So in Malaysia, reported that the Chinese ethnicity are the most affected by the dengue fever, which is the incidence rate is 40.0%, followed by the Malay 39.1%, Indian 6.3%, Bumiputra, Sarawak, Sabah, and other races. And then there is a slight increase in dengue cases among the Malay and Indian. So how the prevention, how the prevention, the national and international policy to prevent this infectious disease. So there are several policies set by the Ministry of the Health Malaysia that we call KKM, Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia, that to prevent and control infectious disease. Among of them, we have three. First, notification. Second, quarantine. Third is immunization. Okay, we look to the what is the notification. It is a notification about the infectious disease to the district health office that we call Pusat Kesihatan Daerah, PKD. So the purpose is to inform about an infectious disease that happened to a person in order to conduct further investigation and prevent the spread of the disease. For example, if one case is diagnosed to rule out dengue fever, so admitted in the hospital. So as a staff nurse must inform the inspector kesihatan that we call head officer to notify this case in 24 hours. That the inspector kesihatan will come to the ward and make the investigation, ask the patient regarding their home, their sanitary, and what people else that have together with live together with the patient. This is the how the notification is done in Malaysia part. So second, quarantine. So isolation process for the patient with infectious disease also done to the patient with low body immunity. So the patient will placed in a quarantine room or isolation room, usually made during the incubation period, but it depends on the disease. Third is immunization, the process of giving vaccines to prevent infectious disease. Vaccines meaning that the death of weaker viruses of bacteria that by injection or orally we given to the to the baby, especially during their born. So the purpose is to increase the immunity in the body against a certain disease. So immunization injection before October 2008, we have the DTP injection and oral polio vaccine, or we call OPV. So from the October 2008 until now, the DTP or IPV hip injection, which is a combination of injections to prevent 5 types of the disease that include DTP to prevent the diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, poliomyelitis, IPV, and Haemophilus influenza type B, HIP. So this is the example of the jadual imunisasi kebangsaan from the Malaysian KKM, that the immunization is given from the after the birth. We given the BCG hepatitis B, okay, for from the birth, and then from the second month, okay, we given the DTP, IPV, hepatitis B, HIPS. Also in the month third month, so baby usia baby 3 months, so the given to the DTP, IPV, hepatitis B, HIPS. This the immunization is continuous until the baby from the 0 to 18 months. Okay. So all the vaccine that given is safe and effective in accordance with the WHO recommendations. So not worry to receive the immunization. So the level of the prevention. Now we go to the how the prevention level that we have implement. So the prevention is an activity which protect the individual or population from the exposure to the causes of disease, disability of injury, or which enhance the ability to withstand the onslaught of a specific causative agent. So we have the three levels of the prevention. We have primary intervention that include together health promotion, specific protection, and chemoprophylaxis. And then we have the secondary intervention, the early diagnosis and treatment, disability limitation, and we have the tertiary intervention that we call rehabilitation. So we go to the primary prevention. There are two main preventive measures in the administration of the vaccine and immunoglobulin. So we have the vaccine or immunization schedule that the main step in the primary prevention is vaccination. So in Malaysia, the immunization schedule is the immunization that from children age 0 to 18 months. So this is example of the schedule of the vaccine. And then second, we have the immunoglobulin, IG. It is a basic substance that resembles a protein substance that can produce antibodies. Example, immunoglobulin A, we call IgA, immunoglobulin D, IgD, immunoglobulin A, IgE, and immunoglobulin M, IgM. So we have secondary prevention that are the initial step taken to control the infectious disease from spreading more widely. So the aims is to detect the disease in the early stage and to treating the disease in the early stage and slow down the progression of the disease, and then to avoid the complication and reduce the disability. So we have the secondary intervention, we have the early diagnosis, we have the treatment, isolation or barrier nursing, we have the notification and environmental control. Okay, what is meaning of the early diagnosis? That the interview with the suspect, for example, when the cases of the dengue fever is informed, so the inspector kesihatan or IK head officer will come to the ward and interview with the suspect. So the physical examination from head to toe will done. This is early detection. Can detect from during early come to the emergency care, and then laboratory examination and diagnostic test will done depends on the data collected by the patient regarding the how does a patient complain of, and then how the physical appearance looks. So the treatment related to the disease will continue once the disease has been diagnosed. So it depending on the severity of the disease and the symptom show. So we have the isolation. If performed, the patient will took place in the isolation room, which the purpose is to reduce the spread of the disease to other individual. So maybe we have the room isolation room, and that complete with the toilet together in there. So the patient is isolate safe. So isolation, we have the isolation nursing. Okay, we go to the classification of isolation. That meaning that isolationist that refer to a measure designed to prevent the spread of the infections or potentially infections microorganism to help personal, client and visitor. It is necessary when a person is known or suspected to be infected or colonized with the pathogens that can be transmitted by airborne or droplet transmission or by contact with a dry skin or contaminated surface. Okay, so we have the classification of isolation. We have the straight isolation, contact isolation, respiratory isolation, entry precaution, drainage and secretion precaution, blood and body fluid precaution. Okay, what is straight isolation? The function is to prevent the transmission of highly virulent infections spread by the air or contact. For example, the patient have the chickenpox. So the equipment must have the private room, and then the nurses must wear the gown, glove, and mask are required for all the person that entering the room. Discard of bed and label ethical contaminated with the infective material. This example of the chickenpox, also known as the varicella, is the highly contagious disease that caused by the initial infections we call varicella zoster virus, VZV. So the disease result in the characteristic skin rash that forms small, itchy blisters which eventually scab over. So this chickenpox is transmitted from a person to person by directly touching the blister and then saliva or the mucus of an infected person. So this virus can be transmitted through the air by coughing or sneezing. So we have the contact isolation. Function is to prevent transmission of highly transmissible infections spread by close or direct contact that do not warrant straight precaution. So this for acute respiratory infections in infant, herpes simplex, rubella or scabies. So the equipment for the contact isolation must have the private
Adik-adik
room.
mohon tetap diperhatikan ya,
Patient with
jangan
the
rame
same
sendiri.
organism
Perhatikan
may
materinya.
share the room. Can put together if the room is for the two, so we can put the two person in the same room that have the same disease. So the gown indicated if the soil is lightly, must wear the glove, indicated a person touching infective material, wear the mask, indicated for the person coming close to the client. Okay, we go to the respiratory isolation. The functions is to prevent transmission or infectious disease over short distance through air droplet. For example, for the cases tuberculosis, TB. So the equipment for the respiratory isolation must have the private room also, meaning that the client with the same organism share the room must is necessary. But in Malaysia, we have the ward, we call the ward TB, tuberculosis, that put all the tuberculosis patient in the same ward. Okay, tuberculosis is a disease that caused by the bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and then the bacteria usually attack the lungs, but they can also damage all other parts of the body. So this TB spreads through the air when a person with the TB of the lung or throat cough, sneezing or talking. So we have the entry precaution. The functions is to prevent infections transmitted by direct or indirect contact with feces. So example cases of the cholera, hepatitis the equipment need is the room is necessary, because if the hygiene is poor or incontaminated. But usually, if not have the room, we can put the patient cholera in the cubicle, the cubicle in the ward that we separate with others disease, uh, and then must wear the gown if the soiling lightly, so wear the glove also if indicated, if touching infected material. So we
Excuse
have
me.
the drainage
Excuse me, Dr.
and
Rusnani.
secretion precaution. The functions is to prevent infection transmitted by direct or indirect contact with the purulent material or drainage from infected body sites. For example, the patient have the abscess or infected wound. So the patient, for the drainage and secretion precaution, just only need the wear the glove, indicate when touching infective material.
Excuse me,
So
Dr.
this is the
Rusnani.
example of the
Excuse me.
purulent and drainage of the patient that needs to wear the
I'm sorry,
glove.
Dr. Rusnani. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. The time is 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now we go to the reverse isolation. Okay, must wear the glove, have the private room, wear the mask. So now we go to the third notification. The patient who have been identified as having an infectious disease must notify by the assistant environmental head officer. And then environmental control must ensure that a clean environment and free from the infectious disease. So to provide the health education in maintaining the health of the environment. So we have the aspect of environmental control, environmental cleanness, nutrition, water quality control, good garbage disposal, and then perfect sanitation system and vector control, so such as for the mosquito, fly, rats, and so on. For the third tertiary prevention, this is the rehabilitation. So we get given the health education to the patient regarding the nutrition, cleanness, healthy lifestyle practice. So the health education for the primary prevention, we have the camping and health talk regarding the prevention. For example, prevention for the dengue fever. Secondary prevention, we have a talk regarding the early detection. For example, for the antenatal mothers regarding their HB% or VDRL, Venereal Disease Research Laboratory. And tertiary prevention, we have health talk and teaching of skill. For example, the post-stroke, palliative care, care of the wound, care special needs for the client. So as the conclusion, in healthcare, standard precaution and universal precaution must be applied. In conjunction with that, the world neglected to NTD, J campaign, the Director General of the WHO launched the NTD, neglected tropical disease roadmap on the 8 January 2029, with the theme of the ending the neglect to attain the Sustainable Development Goals, a roadmap for neglected tropical disease 2021 to until 2030. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so
I
much.
will go back to the chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rusnani. Thank you for valuable knowledge. And for online participants in the meeting, if you want to ask question, you can enter your question in the meeting chat. And for online participant, you can ask the question directly later on in the discussion session. And we'll move to the second speaker. I'll invite Mrs. Yayu. Can you hear me, my voice?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you, Miss Risa. Is my voice clearly enough?
Yes, it's very clearly. Okay. We will hear from Mrs. Yayu, and the topic is about symptom and nursing diagnosis in hospitalized patient with dengue fever. And before the material, I will deliver about the CV. She is from the Universitas Gadjah Mada Indonesia, and the field of her expertise in tropical nursing and infectious disease, dialysis, cardiopulmonary and nursing informatics. And the same with the first speakers, the time is 15 minutes. I'll give the floor to Mrs. Yayo. Time is yours.
Thank you to the Dean, Dr. Yayo Bekti, all the committee and moderator, Mrs. Risa, who has given me the opportunity to discuss today in the 2023 International Nursing course from the Faculty of Health Science, Universitas of Muhammadiyah, Malang. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, all the participants. Let me introduce myself. My name is Yayuni Daul. I'm from Department of Medical Surgical Nursing, Faculty of Medicine, Public Health and Nursing, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Yogyakarta. Yeah, today we will discuss about symptom and nursing diagnosis in hospitalized patient with dengue fever. For the learning objective are understanding of the dengue,
Mohon
to
untuk tetap
comprehensively
memperhatikan ya,
and over
jangan rame
nursing
sendiri.
diagnosis in the practice, and we know about the global incidence of the dengue, and then understanding signs and symptoms of the dengue as available tool in systematic manner in nursing diagnosis. And the final is about research related to nursing diagnosis scope in dengue fever. As we know, dengue virus form a distinct complex under the genus flaviviruses based on biological characteristics. Other viruses of the family include Japanese encephalitis virus, yellow fever virus, and etc. There are four dengue virus serotypes, which are DNV1 to DNV4, and infection with any one of these serotypes confers lifelong immunity to that virus serotype. Although all the four serotypes are antigenically similar, they elicit cross protection for only few months. Secondary infection with another serotype or multiple infection with different serotype enhance chance of occurring more severe form of the disease. As we know, the vector of the dengue is Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus are the most important vector of the dengue. The Aedes mosquito can remain its available dry condition more than years and emerge within 24 hours once it's become in contact with water. This is also the major barrier in prevention and control dengue. This is the global incidence of the dengue. The global incidence of the dengue has grown dramatically with about half of the world's population now at risk. It has been reported in more than 100 countries in tropical and subtropical regions. And according to the WHO data published in 2022, Indonesia ranked second dengue in the world. And from Europe Center for Disease Prevention and Control, in 2022, majority of cases have been reported in Indonesia, if of 5 rank, and majority of the deaths have been reported in the Indonesia, which ranks second in the world. So in generally, The increasing number of the dengue fever cases is more likely followed by spread of the city from a total approximately 500 cities in Indonesia, and about 80 have reported dengue fever cases. We can see the slide, the results surveillance data in this figure can be seen the average over years and the hospitalized patient. However, these results are influenced by difference in perception of how worker treatment seeking behavior in our society. So it's not always detected and get referral or continue the treatment. So the question is, what should we do as a nurse in the providing care of patients with the dengue? Yeah, we offer the best nursing practice with nursing care plan to impact for quality care in hospitalized patients with the dengue. The keys are understanding of the nursing process, understanding the dengue, and understanding guideline for the dengue. The most important about the early detection for the cases is classification, treatment, and referral when necessary. The importance of nursing process because from the study Takasi that showed nurse reported they experienced difficulties performing nursing diagnosis and difficult to perform care planning and data collection. So the result nursing diagnosis is better when nurse reported more difficulties and nurses theoretical and practical knowledge have to perform two phases of the process. Here are some tips for more easy to make analysis for nursing diagnosis. This is for the Williams and Wilkins. Actually, we should know about the familiar, the type of nursing diagnosis. According to the NANDA International, there are 4 types of nursing diagnosis. The first, actual diagnosis, and actual nursing diagnosis describe an existing problem like a human response, individual, family, or community to a health condition or life process. And the second is the risk. The risk diagnosis describes a potential problem of the patient. And the third is the syndrome. The syndrome is the diagnosis non-labelable, specifically designed to shortcut in the special diagnosis situation. And 4 is wellness. These diagnoses are used for the patient or the family who are already healthy or but want to maintain or improve their wellness level. This is a concept mapping diagnosis. We can develop the concept map for the patient to enhance our creative thinking and clinical reasoning for the nurses. Then we follow step, place the patient data in the center and write everything, patient main problem or potential diagnosis in the box or surrounding on the core of the patient. And we can use the line, we can identify the relationship between the diagnosis, and so we can select the priority diagnosis and we can eliminate the diagnosis according to the concept and the clinical judgment and assessment. So we can prevention of the duplicate outcome and intervention. And next is the understanding of the dengue. Pathophysiology of the dengue infection. When the dengue virus infection, our body produces antibodies and activation T cells. And for the produce antibodies, antigen-antibody interaction, complement activator and make a deposition of the vessel and clinical manifestation. Some as the activation of T cell produce various chemical mediator and increase vascular permeability. And next about the guideline. Guideline for the dengue, we use the two guidelines. The first is the guideline 2009 with WHO versus 2011. A better performance of the revised classification in detection of the severe clinical manifestation. Also, the study showed that the guideline WHO 2009 show higher sensitivity and specificity, but the guideline from 2011 could diagnose more patients because also more secondary infection who have probability severe form compared to WHO 2009. Let's see the comparison of the two of the guidelines. The first, WHO is a new guideline classify. This is 2009 is more simple because just classify for symptomatic cases just a dengue, without and with warning signs and severe dengue. The classification being practical use, decision to where and how intensively the patient should be monitored, observed, or in treatment or intervention nursing, and that because as we know that the dengue is one the disease entity with different clinical presentation and predictable. And we can see the guideline WHO in 2011 has more categories and complex from the CDC 2021 show that the guideline definition was both too difficult to apply in resort limit setting and too specified. So, why do nurses need to know about the classification of the dengue? For a disease, dengue is complex in its manifestation, but the treatment relatively simple as long as the observation, intervention is done in correct in the timely manner. Of course, we should collaborate with another healthcare to reducing dengue mortality requires an organized process, early detection of the cases, classification, treatment, and referral, and the key component is process delivery optimal clinical services all level, like the from primary care, health to tertiary. This is the clinical course of the dengue. Many patients infected with the dengue virus remain asymptomatic. Other after incubation period of the 4 to 7 days, range 3 until 14 days, the illness often begin abruptly with fever and follow 3 phases. Disease, febrile, critical, and recover. Understanding the clinical course recognize the warning sign and medical complication, and providing the correct treatment can prevent the mortality and death. The different characteristics each phase can seen from fluctuating temperature like biphasic fever possible. There are potential clinical issue and laboratory failure and when we should test laboratory. As a nurse, we should try to assessment comprehensively for the patient, like we should to include the garden function pattern, and then we can also to get information like the onset of the fever, a quantity of the oral intake, assessment, warning sign, diarrhea, and then urine output is most important too, and relevant history like maybe the family or they visit the epidemic area. And the some condition like infants, pregnant, obesity, or patient have another condition. It's should to more focus. The physical assessment we can see in the slides that assessment mental status, hydration status, hemodynamic status, like checking the patient tachypnea or peripheral perfusions and acid test and etc. And we can apply the manifestation, check the tourniquet test. We should to check the tourniquet test conduct by trained person. Yeah, and then another is investigation the complete blood count or CBC. We should know about the when the CBC has to check our febrile patient in the first visit to get baseline, and then all the patient with the warning sign, all the patient with fever more than 3 days, or the patient maybe they have the disturbance or shock. This is the investigation lab by order physician. And then we move, the nursing diagnosis is, we can see that in the slide, the following are potential nursing diagnosis for patient that can be adapted to the patient condition. We can use nursing diagnosis for Nanda International 2021 until 2023. This is a standardized nursing language. These diagnoses are numerous, divided into several conditions depending on the course of the dengue illness. For example, in the first, this is incubation phases, and we can focus the patient with the febrile. The febrile phase is most important because we know that the dengue patient condition can be unpredictable, and sometimes patient may fall into dengue shock, like a dengue shock syndrome. At the stage febrile phase, characteristic of the including typically a duration 0 until 7 days, and the basic fever is possible. Patient typically develop high-grade fever suddenly, and we should monitoring and detect warning signs crucial to identify progression into critical phase, and severe events occur between day 3 until day 4 of the illness. Typically, clinical manifestation, we can see in the slides, the febrile phase include temperature higher, and some patient maybe complaints about severe headache, retroorbital pain, myalgia, alplegia, and etc. Sometimes they can get complaints or symptoms, minor hemorrhagic manifestation like fatigue. We can check the tourniquet test and purpura, or sometimes bleeding gums, hematuria, and so on. But some people, when the dengue, may only have a fever as a complaint. The laboratory finding in the febrile phase including leukopenia, mild to moderate thrombocytopenia, may be elevated to aspartate aminotransferase, or about the electrolyte like a hyponatremia. And here's some diagnoses that might arise in patient in the febrile phases. I can't explanation about the code. The D is the domain, and C is the class of diagnostic, and term according to the taxonomy to Nanda International. As we know, has three level the domain, level the classes, and level the diagnosis. For example, the D1, it means the domain 1, it's health promotion, and C1 as class 1 is health awareness, and this is the diagnosis. diagnosis is readiness for enhanced health literacy. As we know in the febrile phase, we should to ensure that the patient know about the course of the clinical disease. And we can check the pattern using developing set skill of the patient for the competency, like how the knowledge, how the motivation of the patient, and how the culture and the language. We can find the comprehensive, evaluate, and use health information. And then patient and family are given understanding regarding their illness and ensure that the patient categorized able to treat. For example, they categorize able to treat in home means that they must know the care needed and immediate warning signs for if the warning signs come, they can go to the primary facility. In the study by Sang et al., in some condition patients saw the anxiety, so we can try to identify it. The diagnosis can be enforced if we find the patient in anxious for the reason or anxiety for the reason, or if the patient anxiety because he don't know about the disease. So if a patient anxiety because they don't know the disease, we can try to enforce the diagnosis, readiness for enhanced health literacy if they want to try to cooperate with the disease. And the priority, the disease, we can see the priority of diagnosis. The febrile phases are fluid volume deficit, hyperthermia, nausea, and while the diagnosis, acute pain and risk for the electrolyte imbalance according to the manifestation that appears in the patient. And in the slides, the nursing outcome on priority diagnostic focus on the level fluid balance and hydration, and for the thermoregulation, hyperthermia, we can focus to thermoregulation for the outcome, and then we can monitor the nausea and nausea management for the intervention. Consider of the fluid management in the patient. If the patient oral intake is lacking, they get nausea or vomiting, we can collaborate to IV fluid administration according to the patient weight and monitoring. Fluid resuscitation is given to the patient whoever warning signs and are hospitalized. And the fever treatment, we can intervention management symptom because increased temperature, we can collaborate with the doctor or physician giving the antibiotic. And for nausea management, we should to monitor the intake nutrition because it's important to us. Some patients have complained about the anorexia in the first phases of febrile phases. And the medical complication during the febrile phases of the dengue, including following dehydration, hyponatremia, and for the young children, sometimes they get the neurologic disease manifestation. And we can move at the stage, the critical phases, clinical manifestation. In these phases, the clinical phases typically begins around the time of the defervescence, but it might begin as early as the third day after fever onset in patients who are still febrile. This is the period when those who develop severe disease will become critical illness. And however, most dengue patients actually they can improve during this phase and do not develop a severe condition. Yeah, and in this slide we can see about the as information onset of the critical phase also be identified, like the rapid decline in the platelet count, or maybe high the hematocrit, and they sometimes the patient up to 24 hours develop leukopenia, and the before platelet drop is recognized. The present warning sign for severe disease like clinical accumulation such as ascites, pleural effusion, and maybe some patient complain about the severe abdominal pain, consists persistent vomiting. We can try to ask question about the patient, how many episode of vomiting, at least 3 vomiting episode within 24 hours. And we can check the mucosa bleeding and lethargy. Some patient complain about restlessness. So this is the diagnosis, may a potential we can enforce in the patient in the critical phase. The laboratory sometimes finding a critical phase including increased hematocrit and moderate to severe thrombocytopenia, leukopenia, and etc. At the clinical phase, many diagnoses may appear in the patient depending on the manifestation, but some are still continuing the diagnosis of the febrile phase. Just need to know that the critical phase with the plasma leakage is the hallmark of the dengue hemorrhage fever, which occur soon after the end of the febrile phase. There are a tendency to develop hypovolemic shock to do the plasma leakage. And the following diagnoses are prioritizing. Some diagnoses may be, we can try to enforce first, and then we can try to calculate with the patient symptoms and from the assessment and clinical judgment. And these following diagnoses are prioritized. For example, prioritize is risk for shock. It's most important because severity of the signs and symptoms of inadequate blood flow to perfuse tissue due to the severe decrease in intravascular fluid volume, and its main intervention in the phase of the critical phase. And then we can see in the another diagnosis, for example, hyperthermia. Patient can be sometimes can complain about the risk for bleeding, like bleeding gums, and then they can sometimes they about the manifestation like the severe abdominal pain. And the first is the focus in the nursing process is the sign and symptom inadequate blood flow. And then we can focus the monitoring is for shock for the patient. This is the NOC, or we can call nursing outcome classification, shock severity. We can outcome the hypovolemic and intervention, shock prevention, and hemodynamic regulation. It's most important to monitoring. And another is the main intervention carried out by nurses are detected at treating patient for the monitoring the patient hemodynamic status, and awareness, the most important risk of bleeding must be monitored, the patient hemodynamic status. The risk of for bleeding, such as for the nursing outcome, circulation status, and blood loss severity, and we should do risk control about that, and bleeding reduction and medication management. And in the critical phase, outcome of the fluid balance still continue, and the another focus is the infection, because risk for infection for the patient, sometimes the patient they have the symptoms like the vulnerable. So the fluid balance and infection severity should be monitored. The medical complication during the critical phase is the hypovolemic shock from the plasma leakage, and organ impairs due to prolonged shock, severe hemorrhage, and etc. And then this is about the this is the number 3 is the recovery phase. The recovery phase, it's most to know that recovery depends on the severity of the illness, and any treatment prescribed in the febrile and critical phases, and the onset phase identified following the sometimes patient they complain about the rash, maybe a macular or erythematous with a small circular island, and the covalent rash can be a very pruritic and depressing for the patient, and severe fatigue. For the diagnosis, we can continue to another diagnosis like the health promotion, because we should to educate the patient about the effect of the clinical courses. And then nursing diagnosis, we can send the potential for the patient. The recovery phase is the according to the previous phase. So it's the responder treatment, and the previous critical and the febrile phase is accurately time manner and correct. So in the recovery phase, the previous risk for the lack of fluid volume, or maybe risk for excessive fluid volume can prevent. Because many studies show that in the recovery phases, the patients sometimes they get the risk excessive volume or hypervolemia, because its intravenous fluid therapy had been excessive or extend too long. So we should to monitor the fluid balance, vital signs, and urinary elimination, because we can't monitor the patient condition. And another diagnosis, it's still continue, is the risk for infection. Because the risk for infection, we can it's important too. For example, for the elderly, expressing they can get healthcare associated infection, or we can call nosocomial, and we can try to enforce the risk for infection, and nursing outcome is the infection status, it's most important, and for intervention, nursing protection. And another diagnosis they may raise is impaired like skin integrity is most important to the patient too. And we can see the laboratory finding like recovery path, including following hematocrit patient stabilized, and then white blood count began rising soon after effervescence and platelet count increase following the white blood count recovery. But we should know about sometimes the medical complication show in the recovery phase, like the hypervolemic, as I can previously that the patient gets the maybe acute pulmonary edema because if the previous treatment intravenous fluid therapy has been excessive. And for the some patient, organ impairment can be result. It's the effect because the prolong of the shock. And sometimes the patient for the example for the elderly, they can get nosocomial. And for the patient improve the condition, we can see that the patient maybe they have gradual absorption of fluid and increased diuresis, so we can monitor the urinary elimination for the patient and urinary elimination management for the patient. Patient can maybe sometimes they become bradycardy, but we can try to monitor vital signs. They are stable. And when the patient finish the treatment and decide criteria, we can more focus and assessment no fever for at least 20 hours for the patient, and and without they use the antipyretic drug, and at least 2 days have lapsed after recovery from shock, and then good general condition. For example, maybe the patient improving appetite and the normal investigation laboratory like normal hematocrit baseline. And then we can see the hematocrit around, for example, until 40% when the baseline is not known. And no distress, the clinical for the patient, and no acid test, and no other complication. And sometimes for the patients, they still anxiety, and we should to make sure that the patient we can care about their anxiety and increase the health awareness, like a readiness for enhanced health literacy. Here's some notes. It's important because if we see all the diagnosis in the patient dengue, a caring patient of the dengue have to collaborate care. We can't just manage solely by nurses. We should collaborate with the dietitian, physicians, and pharmacy and another healthcare to meet desired patient outcome, because many outcome can achieve with the collaboration in the case of the dengue. For example, we can see in the slide, this is the diagnosis of the nursing diagnosis should collaborate with another professional. This is the fluid volume, fluid management. We should to collaborate with physician and respond shock, acute pain for the prescriptions and electric imbalance and risk infection, thermoregulation, administrations, and less than nutrition, for example, less than body requirement. We should to collaborate with the doctor and dietitians and risk for bleeding. Collaborative care is the care. It's important because sometimes the physician, for example, the physician is responsible for ordering definitive treatment or test of the dengue, and we can try to administrate them by the order. And the nurse is responsible for implementing medical order, and we should to acting under medical approved protocol, like monitoring the patient, taking the measures to prevent complication is needed. And nurse may coordinate care with other health profession. This is under direction the physician or practitioner, and must collaborate care to the physiological complication. We should monitor to detect their onset and management change in the patient status, in especially with the dengue, and this assemble the collaborative care. And the research about the nursing diagnosis and the dengue from the another research is the 5 symptoms demonstrate increased risk for the severe dengue disease, including bleeding, vomiting or nausea, abdominal pain, skin rashes, and hematomegaly. And we should know about that because the symptoms is a warning sign, and the nurse should aware about that. And among the 4 bleeding related the symptom including hematemesis, melena, gum bleeding, and epistaxis. And then the study show only hematemesis or melena are significant associated with the severe dengue disease. Shock. And then the following symptoms we can see about the patient. This is the nursing diagnosis consistent between analysis, nursing diagnosis, and system in the patient. Just 45.4% including diagnosis about hyperthermia, acute pain, nausea, and potential dangers gastrointestinal perfusion failure. And some diagnosis about the potential dangers bleeding, but the some diagnostic nursing diagnosis inconsistent account for 27.3%, like anxiety, loss of fluid volume, potential dangers fall, and the nursing diagnosis not account for 24.3%. It's diarrhea, latent and dangerous infection, and disorder of the oral mucosa. The possible reason for this study between clinical symptom and nursing diagnosis is sufficiency education on the dengue fever and nursing diagnosis, because the participant lack of the clinical experience before and clinical judgment, and its a recommendation to strengthen education.
Excuse me. Okay, 5 minutes
Here
left.
for this brings me to the end of my presentation. To the summary, my points is most dengue fever for patient recovery, sometimes without requiring hospital admission. But while some patient may progress to the severe disease, so as a nurse, must be able to know cases classification and monitoring the patient, because the nursing focus of the response to symptoms and treatment given at the primary and secondary care level, and where the patient the first scenes and evaluate. It can help to identify a patient at the risk of the developing severe dengue and requirement of the hospital care. And nursing diagnosis can be made following the course of the patient illness. This decision should be a complement with a comprehensive and appropriate assessment is necessary. Okay. Thank you for your time and attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Please give applause to our two speakers. Okay. Now, thank you once again. Thank you for the valuable knowledge for Ms. Yayu and also Dr. Rusnani. I'll invite again Dr. Rusnani and also Ms. Yayu. And now we go to the next agenda. It will be question and answer session. Sorry. And if you want to ask question, please raise your hand and say your name for the offline participant. And for the online participant, I saw one question from University of Muhammadiyah Jember. And also, I will read the first question from Ando Mangkuluhur from Muhammadiyah Jember. I want to ask something question especially for Mrs. Yayu Nidal Fitria about the different stereotype or kind of dengue viruses. If someone has been infected with stereotype 1 and after he or she totally cured, could he or she infected with another stereotype with the same symptom? If we look the antibodies work. Thank you.
Okay,
for
thank
Mrs. Yayu, can you answer the question now?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Thank you, Miss Risa. And it's interesting and a good question about the because we as now the dengue fever has 4 serotype with dengue, then for 2, then 4, then V4. Yeah, the someone they can get anyone this serotype. They have a long time immunity just this serotype. So if they can get another serotype, it just the can't just the what is it name few months to protection, but the study show that the secondary infection with the another multiple infection it can cause the severe dengue. So we can make sure we can if we want to know we should to check first when we can get, and after the someone get again they can check again and the lab. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Yayu. And another question. Before we go to the next question, maybe for offline participant, do you have some question for the two speakers, Dr. Rusnani and also Mrs. Yayu? Not yet? Okay. We go to the next question from UKH. I want to ask Mrs. Yayu Nidaul, why is the nursing diagnosis of infection risk enforced even though the patient has a viral infection? The mic is still mute.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Risa. Okay, thank you for the questions. The infection disease, as we know, is a medical diagnosis, while the course nursing as a nursing diagnosis just focus to the response for the patient to the treatment and the illness. So the range of diagnosis for infection in nursing diagnosis just risk for infection. We can see the definition of the risk infection, that the risk is a diagnosis describe a potential problem that the patient is the risk for developing diagnosis, or the patient or the someone they may be more vulnerable. In this case, the patient gets the virus, actually they infected, and we can enforce the risk for infection to focus in nursing outcome, infection status, and intervention nursing in infection protection. We can suitable the infection selected nursing, the nursing intervention nursing infection status result the category, and a score 1 is symptoms is no symptom, and I'm sorry, severe symptom, and 5 is a non-symptom. So we can evaluate the condition of the patient. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Yayu. And this is a very excited topic. Your topic is very interesting. And this is also come another question from Muhammad Hafid Al-Fatah, also from University of Muhammadiyah Jember. Each stereotype of dengue has significant differences. If person infected with stereotype 1, then Aedes aegypti bites, and giving another stereotype, does the person have more severe dengue? Or antibodies from stereotype 1 can reduce the risk of severity from other stereotype? I think this is already answered by Mrs. Yayu. But for the next infection will be more severe than the first infection, I think. Mrs. Yayu, is it right?
Yeah, it's right, Miss Risa. As you know, when the patient get the same serotypes, but another serotype can make a severe dengue because it's the immune response. We can call the ADA. Correct me if I'm wrong. Antibody defense enhancement. The stimulates the active complex and cytokine in our body. So the most severe manifestation.
Okay, thank you. And I invite for the offline participants, do you have some questions? Okay, there is 2 person that raise hand from, I take 1 person from the right side and the other, okay, please, from the right side. You can go to, you can deliver in bahasa also in English.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Andriani dengan NIM 026 PSIKA 19. Saya ingin bertanya, misalnya ada sebuah tempat tinggal yang lembab dan sering terjadinya musim hujan terus-menerus sehingga perkembangbiakan nyamuknya itu semakin meningkat. Bagaimana kita tenaga medis melakukan edukasi penanganan? Karena masyarakat juga kadang-kadang merasa kejadian tersebut itu hal yang biasa saja. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Ditujukan ke siapa, Mbak? Ke Dr. Rusnani atau Bu Yayu pertanyaannya? Atau keduanya?
Bu Yayu, Bu.
Bu Yayu, oke. Oke, kita tampung dulu ya. Oke, the next question From the left side, please.
Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Izin memperkenalkan diri, nama Iko Rofiko, NIM 185 dari PSIKT. Izin bertanya untuk Dokter tadi dari yang materi infeksi bagian resiko kita terkena infeksi itu di bagian usia. Di situ ada usia dewasa, anak-anak, terus ibu hamil dan seseorang yang imunnya rendah. Saya izin bertanya di bagian ibu hamil, apakah ada usia kandungan yang rentan terkena infeksi? Terus dampak pada janinnya bagaimana? Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you. There are two questions, one for Mrs. Yayu and also one question for Dr. Rusnani. And for the first question to Mr. Yayu, do you get the question?
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the question. Yeah, prevention for the dengue is most important because we as a nurse in the community or clinical is the same issue because we should to enforce the we should to encourage the community to more care for the environment. Because if this is the station monsoon is the rain, so the dengue is more high cases, and as we know in the primary care, they can't account the patient or the someone they detect the dengue, and we can know about the jentik, jadi petugas jentik, they from the cadre and the responsible responsible to the primary care. So that we as a nurse or a student in health care, we should to educate the community. And we can involve the community to can program to lawan jentik nyamuk. Thank you.
Thank you for the answer. And we go to the next question is about factor influencing the infectious disease. And one of the material that Dr. Rusnani said that the pregnant woman has increasing the risk for infectious disease. And for the question is about in what age of pregnancy the infectious can be for the pregnant woman, for the gestational age, in which gestational age, I think.
Okay, thank you for the questions. As we know that the gestational age for the pregnant women have 3 gestational trimester that we call trimester 1, 0 to 3, trimester month of the month, trimester 2, 4 to 7, trimester 3, 7 to 9 months. So the question is about the gestational age that can impact to the pregnancy. So especially for the trimester 1, that in case the mothers have developed or have the infection, so this can cause especially for the case, for example, the currently we have the COVID-19. So the mothers for the pregnancy woman, the complication that they have the mother can get the pneumonia. First, the pneumonia, and then the complication for the fetus itself can becomes a abortion or keguguran. Or if not abortion, the complication is maybe the baby will becomes premature baby that lahir tak cukup bulan or reduce the weight of the gain. Maybe the low birth weight, that the weight gain is less than 2.5 kg for the baby. So it is important that the mothers, especially for the pregnant woman, to avoid and prevent the precaution to prevent them from the disease. For example, practice good hygiene, personal hygiene, and then for pregnant women, especially in Malaysia, we have the immunization for the mothers pregnant, tetanus that we given to the mothers for the first pregnancy, and then we given 2 times booster dose to the mothers to prevent all the infections, and then keep vaccination schedule for especially for the primate gravida that have the first pregnancy, and then keep your environment clean and safe, and then use the, especially for the pregnant woman, use the technology that we have installed the walking work for the our healthy lifestyle. Okay, that's all from my answer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for Dr. Rosnani. And is this the time already finished? I'm sorry to Sinta and also to Febri in the meeting chat because the time is limit, so we cannot continue the discussion session here. But maybe Ms. Yayu and also Dr. Rusnani can write down the answer. And finally, we have reached the end of the session, and this is a very, very interesting session. And thank you for the valuable knowledge for Dr. Rusnani and also Mrs. Yayu. And we will give the certificate to our speakers today who gave us the valuable insight and also knowledge here. Please, is it shown for Dr. Rusnani? Thank you so much. And also,
thank you.
And also for Mrs. Yayu, thank you so much for insightful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again. And this short course provides an opportunity for students to interact with professionals, so the participant may get benefit and valuable knowledge and experience. I would like to thank all the speakers today, Mrs. Yayu and also Dr. Rusnani for the great speech, and also the audience for the active participant both in offline and online meetings. Thank you for your attention, and I'd like to turn to my colleague, Miss Olivia. Thank you, Miss. Please give applause to our speakers.
Thank you for all.
Thank you, Mrs. Risa Herlianita, Dr. Rusnani, and Mrs. Yayuni Daul Fitria, MKEP. Finally, we come to the last session in this event, that is closing. To close this event, let's reciting Hamdalah together. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. As the master of ceremony, once again, thanks to Dr. Laura Nafika Yamani, Dr. Rusnani, and Mrs. Yayuni Daul Fitriah, MKEP, as the speakers, our nursing lecturers, the committee, and the audience entirely from Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Philippines. May what we had conducted will be useful for us. Ladies and gentlemen, even guiding this event, I made mistakes or offend someone here, please forgive me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your coming and your nice attention. See you tomorrow in the next lecture at the morning. Have a nice day and good morning. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Baik adik-adik semuanya, karena ini sudah selesai, jadi Pak tolong dimatikan Pak ya. Jadi untuk penugasan silakan dikumpulkan di luar. Jadi tugasnya jangan lupa dituliskan ya, seperti yang disampaikan Pak Zahid, tulis nama sama NIM.
Guys, this is Malang.
And we are students.
Mau foto Pak, foto bersama.
Adik-adik, jadi untuk tugasnya yang kalian tulis itu difoto ya, yang jelas, kemudian kalian masukkan ke link absensi ya, itu per sesi. Jadi sesi pertama Bu siapa tadi diupload begitu. Gitu nggih? Untuk kertasnya dikumpulkan di luar ya, di meja absensi tadi. Begitu. Jadi sekarang silakan di save ya. Ini. Difoto nggih, difoto maksudnya nggih.
Baik, jangan lupa juga ya adik-adik tolong di-share untuk tentang kegiatan kita pada pagi hari ini. Saya sudah kirim di grup angkatan, jadi silakan kalian ikuti petunjuknya di sana, share dan ceritakan pengalaman kalian selama kalian mengikuti Nursing International Short Course ini. Terima kasih atas perhatiannya, selamat beristirahat dan hati-hati di jalan. Oh ya, ayo kita foto selfie bareng-bareng dulu ya. Selfie lah Pak, agak muat Pak kalau di depannya.
International Robotic Contest winners are freed from writing theses. Filming novels deserves the same scenario. Successful entrepreneurs are over the same changes.
Oh, gantian ya Pak ya.
Oke,
Oke, ini yang foto maju ke depan aja, tapi kita gantian ya. Mungkin dari per sisi saja ya Pak ya. Oh kelas A dulu. Apa ini Pak? Setengah aja ya. Oke, sisi yang sebelah sini, yang cowok-cowok, ayo maju ke depan cepat. Ayo guys.
It's quality assurance. The quality is evident by being ISO 9001 and ISO 75025, certified laboratories by National Accreditation Committee. Recognize your national scope, most study programs have been internationally
merapat ada yang berada di atas, mungkin dua baris yang tinggi, merasa tinggi di belakang di atas. Ayo cepetan. Cok ngelamun arek, ayo maju cepat. Ayo cowok-cowok dulu, yang sisi sebelah sini. Ayo semuanya dek.
Ucapkan selamat kepada perguruan tinggi Muhammadiyah yang telah berhasil menduduki top Islamic Universities versi dunia, yakni Universitas Muhammadiyah Malang pada peringkat 1. Selamat dan sukses kepada perguruan tinggi Muhammadiyah.
I guarantee there are a lot more to come. UMM has shaped its international atmosphere.
Ayo, lebih cepat lebih baik.
Students are welcome to opportunities to study with foreign incoming students via HAPS or scholarships, to name regular track.
Ayo segera. Loh ini teman-teman sudah di depan ini loh. Ayo, segera yang bersedia cepat maju ke depan. Ya sebelah sini nih.
American corner, China corner, Thai corner, India corner, and Aussie banget corner. UMM is renowned for its international community service programs and internships. International collaborations are overflowing. Let's say a collaboration with Temasek Foundation Singapore for community engagement in both countries, Confucius Institute China for lecturer and student exchange, ACICIS Australian inviting Australian scholars to dive into Indonesian cultures, and make
Nanti ada
their
yang di
Japan
bawah, ada yang
promoting
jongkok juga,
UMM
yang
graduates
cowok-cowok
as
atau
fast
yang
ticket to work in Japan.
Ayo, jaga
Last
bisa
but
tayang
not
rapi.
least, partnership with Erasmus
Miring,
Plus,
miring, miring,
European
biar
Union
kelihatan,
Consortium
miring, guys.
offering international studies,
Oke,
teaching,
miring.
and research in Europe, and many more. Wow, UMM is wow.
Study processes are enticing. UMM guarantees that students will graduate in 4 years,
Ayo
be
lagi,
independent,
segera
and
foto
work.
lagi. Saya
Is
mau
that
masuk
all?
buat ini.
That's not the end of the list. Character education remains the key. Character and leadership training equips freshmen with strong energy to embrace their study. Islamic values are integrated during Quranic literacy program.
Oke.
A tailored course
Sudah
in
siap,
Islam
minggir,
and
minggir,
Muhammadiyah
miring ya,
studies
miring,
exemplifies the
miring,
vision.
miring, biar
The
muat,
students
miring,
are
miring.
called to care about their neighboring societies.
Pakai HP.
Community service and partner village development program is one of which.
Nanti ada sesi selanjutnya ya, tenang, tenang. Sesi selanjutnya nanti ada lagi.
Social skills are sharpened. UMM lecturers also believe by their participating in community engagement programs in the areas of supervising tourism villages, agriculture, and partnerships. Student practicums are challenging. Students are to see real clients,
Oke, sudah
and
siap
together
ya.
they solve their clients' problems.
Satu.
A collaboration with Indana Painting CSR has come up with Jodipan, the village of colors.
Sudah.
Rexen goes viral. A lot more to go viral.
Oke, gantian ayo, yang lagi yang
We
gantian
want
gantian.
more.
Ayo
UMM
selanjutnya.
applied laboratories are study places
Selanjutnya,
of campus
selanjutnya.
to be accessed. Here are on the long list.
Ayo yang belum segera maju. Lo gantian Re, yang motokan gantian ya. Jangan tinggal
UMM
temennya.
General Hospital, AMM Hospital
Are-are ini.
Sumbawa, Race
Ayo ayo,
Hotel,
ini masih sepi nih. Ayo tambahkan ini
Kapal
kalau mau foto
Garden
lagi
Hotel,
boleh. Ya.
Rooftop Resto and Cafe, Sengkaling Recreational Park, Rinjani Auto, UMM Energy Gas Station, UMM Dome, Bumi Rinjani Syariah Bank, Micro Hydro Power Plant.
Fotoin lah. Ayo, fotoin. Sini, tambahin sini.
So, what are you waiting for? Let's be the part of this white campus.
Ayo siapa mau ikut foto? Segera.
Inspiration are one of our foundation.
Muat nggak? Aku lali are rokok sekolah. Makan apa nih? Sampainya aku ayo, aku mau menyapa itu lupa. Sudah?
Yang punya iPhone.
iPhone, keluarkan iPhone. Pro-pronya tolong dikeluarkan.
iPhone tolong keluarkan.
Sudah?
Belum selamatan.
Kok saya takut foto nih, Rek. Kok itu dulu. Kurma, Pak. Sik, hati-hati. Pro-nya keluarin deh, pro-nya.
iPhone. Kredit.
Sudah. Oke, terima kasih. Silahkan pulang dan ambil konsumsi.
Boleh iPhone 14 angel. Perasaan pakai
Iya, oke, makanya.
Jadi karang.